We just got our first glimpse at the next installment for the DCU's Gods and Monsters, and we are so excited to see more of Gotham's shape-shifting rogue. Welcome back, ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and these are all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in the first trailer for Clayface. Now, this film has been a long time coming. It was first pitched by writer Mike Flanagan all the way back in 2021 before it got stuck in development hell for over a year. Now, originally, Clayface was intended to be part of the Batman universe, with Reeves exploring multiple spin-off series and films, kind of similar to what we saw with the Penguin. Now that changed in 2024 when it was officially announced that Clayface would instead be part of James Gunn's new DCU, and it's going to be the third film in this franchise. However, this is not the first time we've been introduced to the Mud Master, as he's already made his debut in Season 1 of Creature Commandos.
That's a shapeshifter. Calls himself Clayface. He's dangerous.
Now in that show, we meet Clayface well into his villain career. He allies himself with the power-hungry Princess Rostovik, who had plans to take over the world. Now when the government agency Argus caught wind of this from the sorcerer Circe, Clayface assumes the role of Themysciran scholar Isla McPherson and then fed Argus false information. Feeling as though McPherson was lying, Rick Flag Sr. and Eric Frankenstein spied on her, catching her as she shifted back into Clayface upon returning home. Flag and Clayface battle it out before the latter breaks Flag's back, only to then be electrocuted by Frankenstein. Now while he exploded after the fight, they later find some clay remains around the house, revealing that he could still be alive. Now this film, however, is a prequel and will act as the origin for Clayface, introducing us to who Matt Hagen was before he became the shape-shifting villain.
Matt Hagen? I thought his name was Basil or something.
Well, okay, yes and no. You see, Clayface is only an alias used by several different people throughout the DC mythos. Basil Karlo was the first Clayface, introduced all the way back in Detective Comics number 40. In that issue, he was introduced as a B-tier actor in a horror film who began to kill off his co-stars, using the identity of the villain he played in the film, Clayface. Face was only partially clay, donning a mask made of clay and a top hat, but otherwise he was entirely human. During the Silver Age of comics, we were first introduced to the Mud Monster version of the character, whose alter ego was Matt Hagen. His origin, however, was entirely different from the Clayface before him. In his introductory comic, Detective Comics 298, Hagen was scuba diving for buried treasure when he stumbled upon a pool of protoplasm in a cave. He accidentally submerges himself in this and thus is transformed into a clay-like figure, now able to shift into anyone or anything he could think of. Now there are several other characters who take up the mantle within the comics, even forming their own clan of villains called the Mud Pack, but Karlo and Hagen are the two quintessential iterations of Clayface. But what's most interesting about this film, though, is that the majority of its Clayface characterization isn't from the comics, but rather from the acclaimed two-part episode of Batman the Animated Series, Feet of Clay. Now like so many of Batman's now beloved rogues, Batman the Animated Series gave Clayface's history a rework, combining both the acting background of Karlo and the Mud Monster abilities of Hagen. In this two-parter, we are introduced to famed actor Matt Hagen, who, prior to the time of the episode, was horribly disfigured in a car accident. Now because of this, he becomes addicted to a chemical formula called Renew You that allows him to reform his face into any appearance he wants, allowing him to continue his career on screen. Renew You was not a legal substance, however, and his only access to this cure-all drug was through criminal means, making him in debt to his supplier, the corrupt businessman Roland Daggett. After crossing Daggett to get more Renew You, he is attacked by Daggett's goons, who pour the substance down his throat, causing him to turn into the giant disfigured mud monster. He becomes hell-bent on revenge against Daggett, leading to an encounter with Batman.
You know what I'd have given for a death scene like this? Too bad I won't get to read the notices.
It's one of the all-time best episodes of the series, and for my money, one of the all-time best Batman episodes ever. And it really adds more depth to the character than we got from those early comics. Now that being said, this version of Matt Hagen is who inspired writers Mike Flanagan, Hosanna Meany, and director James Watkins to pursue this film. Prior to dropping this trailer, James Gunn posted two posters for the film that introduce us to both the story and the setting we're diving into. The first was an In-Universe magazine cover with rising star Matt Hagen front and center. Now this immediately gives us a glimpse of where Hagen is in his career prior to his transformation. He's not an already established star like the Batman the Animated Series iteration, he is a rising star. He hasn't hit his stride yet, and this is going to make his fall even more sad. The text on the side reads, "Indie darling to blockbuster debuts." This is an up-and-coming actor who seemingly gets his career cut short, leading him to go to desperate lengths to hang on to any stardom he can. This arc is also very similar to how the Penguin was characterized in the HBO show, portraying him as someone the audience can root for or even take pity on until it's revealed just how villainous he can be.
You're a good man, Vic. You got a good heart.
The cover also has a couple of deep-cut Batman Easter eggs as well. On the left side, we see two bands listed, Ashes on Sunday and Blister Twister. Ashes on Sunday is the name of Dinah Drake, aka Black Canary's first band, appearing in the 2011 run of Batgirl. This isn't the first nod to Dinah either. Earlier this year, set photos revealed both a club called the Black Canary, as well as an ad for the band Alias Insane, which was another group that Dinah belonged to. Blister Twister is a reference to Batman number 412 and is the DC Comics parody of the rock band Twisted Sister. There's also a section on the future of music, citing singer Laura DeThesis on Sounds of Tomorrow. Now, this could be a reference to Laura DeThesi, a singer from the Speed Saunders story, The Kidnapped Singer in Detective Comics 38. In this story, DeThesi is held for ransom by her own fiancé, who is trying to pay off his gambling debt. So I'm wondering if we could see a similar thing happen with Hagen, perhaps trying to pay off his debt to whoever cured his face. The next promo image was of the cover of Gotham Medical Magazine, covering the lead story, The New Face of Regenerative Medicine, and an interview with Caitlin Core. Now, Caitlin Core is not a character from the comics, but rather created for this film, and she's played by the fantastic Naomi Ackie. She's a biotech CEO and rumored to be Hagen's love interest in the film. In her character description, she's said to be a fringe Elizabeth Holmes-style scientist. Holmes is the infamous CEO of Theranos, the fraudulent biotech company. The cover shows a series of vials, which feels very substance-coated. That film is about fading star Elizabeth Sparkle taking a black market drug, the titular substance, as a means to be a younger, more beautiful, more perfect version of herself. It's a fantastic body horror film and is thematically similar to what we know so far about the plot of this movie. To emphasize the body horror elements of the film, DC reposted these posters melting, mirroring Hagen's transformation in the movie.
Person, get to the trailer.
All right, let's break this baby down. The trailer opens on Matt Hagen in the hospital, seemingly after the gangster attack that we see later in the trailer. His entire face is bandaged save for one of his bloodshot eyes. This calls back to many famous body horror films like Goodnight Mommy, The Face of Another, and the most fitting comparison, Eyes Without a Face. That film follows Dr. Genesir, who is trying to fix his daughter's face after she's disfigured in an accident. It's one of the most prolific body horror films and shares a lot of themes with Clayface, using taboo science as a cure for some facial deformity. The song playing is the excellent Do You Realize by the Flaming Lips. Now, you might recognize this song from the Comic-Con trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, another James Gunn produced project. Now, while it was nostalgic and hopeful in Guardians, the lyrics, combined with the visuals in this trailer, portray a more somber and really horrific tone. The camera slowly zooms in on him as we hear the lyrics, "Do you realize that you have the most beautiful face?" Here, it's almost a mean-spirited jest. Hagen has been permanently altered, his previously beautiful face now disfigured and constantly morphing. The lyrics are mocking him. His most beautiful face is no longer his own, but rather an amalgamation of all the faces he can now turn into. Now, during this, we get quick flashes to Hagen's life prior to his attack, him looking toward the camera and at a red carpet event. The film premiering is The Light Between, an in-universe film created for this movie. Hagen may not be a blockbuster actor yet, but he's far more than a B-list actor than his comic counterpart was, already having been lead of a film before his disfigurement. Then there's a flash of his attack being held down, and then we get a brief view of the immediate aftermath of his hospital stay. Hagen is in an eerie clear mask similar to the one worn by Mr. Sardonicus. This 1961 horror film follows a similar plot to Clayface, with the lead seeking out a cure to fix his horrific face. His face does get fixed, however, there's a catch. The cure fails to continue to work, causing his face to return back to its gruesome form. It then cuts to a series of vials and someone, presumably Naomi Akkie's character, injecting a serum into Matt's face. Now, based on what we know of Akkie's character and the film's synopsis involving the dark underbelly of scientific ambition, it is safe to assume that this treatment isn't widely accepted. Not only is it similar to several films like the aforementioned Mr. Sardonicus and The Substance, but also to the source material of Batman the Animated Series. While here it's an injection, in both instances Hagen is seeking out risky treatment to return his looks no matter what the cost. Matt then looks at a store window and his reflection back is distorted, his skin melting off his face. And we see a lot of this face morphing in the trailer and in the main poster as well. Not only is this his main ability, but it's a very common trope in the body horror genre. This transformation of the uncanny, skin melting or peeling off is seen in several famous films: The Thing, Poltergeist, Body Melt, The Fly, and Fright Night. Now, while Matt opens his mouth to try and talk, his lips are fused together, matching the poster released earlier today. This is also a visual callback to The Matrix, when Neo was interrogated by Agent Smith and his mouth was sealed shut. It also leads right into the next scene of the Gotham amusement park, where the clown in the background has a similar mouth, almost stitched together. Now, this is probably Amusement Mile, a location in the comics that hosted Halley's Circus, which we saw teases of in behind-the-scenes set photos. There, Caitlin Core seems to be waiting for someone someone, and maybe this is where she and Matt first meet. We know that she is a fringe scientist, so I imagine that the majority of her meetings aren't taking place in the light of day. There's another shot of the Gotham skyline with the ship docking at the Narrows, and we have seen the Narrows now in several different Batman iterations. The comics, Batman Begins, and the Penguin. In every adaptation, it's characterized as one of the most run-down parts of the city, so this could be where Hagen is first attacked by gangsters. Matt then punches a mirror, raging against his reflection as we see the words, "Look fear in the face." The tagline is literal in this case. Matt can now shift into anyone, so if he's attacking someone, they can literally look fear in the face. This is also visually similar to both Batman the Animated Series as well as the fantastic Clayface one-shot, Batman One Bad Day Clayface. In the animated series, the first time we get a glimpse of Hagen's transformation is through his car rearview mirror, and the same goes for the comic. There's some shots of his new powers, his hands morphing into a mace, and this is a classic Clayface move that we have seen him do in several Batman comics over the years and in the Arkham City game. Those powers are only shown as shadows though, which we saw BTS shots of them shooting over the last year. This again is a very classic horror technique, showing the monster in only shadow so the audience can piece together the most horrific image in their mind. And we've seen this employed in such horror films as Psycho, The Exorcist, and most famously Nosferatu. The trailer ends on Hagen in a bath, which is another reference to the One Bad Day Clayface comic. Now this was a limited series of comics focusing on Batman's most famous rogues, with the Clayface one in particular being a fan favorite. That comic follows Basil Carlo, both as an actor and a mud monster, moving on from Gotham to make it in Los Angeles. After a series of bad auditions, he realizes that he doesn't have to act the part, he can be the part. It's very similar to his Golden Age characterization as he begins to kill off people on set to climb the ladder of success in Hollywood. The comic starts with Carlo in his bathtub practicing his lines for the audition. Though it's the opposite to the trailer where Hagen's face is morphing off, Carlo is transforming his to look like the perfect man for the audition. I would actually love it if this film had similar beats to One Bad Day. We see the lengths that Clayface is willing to go to get the part, regardless of how many lives he has to take to become known. Watkins' description of the film, showcasing the descent into hell of a promising Hollywood actor, strongly relates to this comic iteration of Clayface. Now, toward the end of the book, he finally snaps, exclaiming, "I'm anyone, I'm everyone. Why shouldn't I get the role? It's my turn." We can see a Hagen who is desperate to get back the life that was taken away from him, and now he has the means to do so. So now, like I said, this is a total body horror film just set in the DC universe, and they are not holding back. In the tub, Matt wipes away his face, leaving nothing but a blank slate behind. And this visually echoes his internal transformation as well. He is truly a blank slate. The Matt Hagen that he once knew is no more. He has the power to become anybody and everybody. We've also seen another iteration of Clayface inspect his morphing abilities in the 2004 animated series The Batman. In that show, Clayface is the alias of GCPD officer Ethan Bennett. After apprehending the Joker, he comes into contact with Joker Putty, turning him into a shapeshifter. Before his complete transformation, Bennett inspects his face in the bathroom mirror where he realizes that his skin has become malleable. And guys, that's all for this trailer. This last shot is chilling and I can't wait to see more. Despite how much I would have loved this film to be a continuation of the Reeves-verse, I think it's better that Clayface falls under the new DCU label. Gunn's new film franchise is really putting directors and stories first and not letting the overarching plot of the saga interfere with the creative vision of each project. It's cool to think about how something as gruesome as this lives in the same world as a superdog. And who knows, maybe we'll get some Batman action in this film. So big shout out to Lee Mazzio who wrote this video. You can find his links below. And what did you guys think of the trailer? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments or on our free to join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.